Hey everybody, welcome to another GMG review. Today we're taking a look at Fallout Wasteland Warfare, the role-playing game. This is the latest Fallout offering from Modiphius and is I would say a companion to the Fallout Wasteland Warfare tabletop game. So what's in the book? Well, I'm really excited about this. This is a narrative expansion, companion, add-on to Fallout Wasteland Warfare. It uses all the same components as Fallout Wasteland Warfare. So your entire collection of miniatures and cards from that game is compatible with this. It gives you an instant host of bad guys, good guys, NPCs, everything that was in your favorite Fallout games. It's already been released by Modiphius, as well as terrain, special terrain rules, monsters, rad roaches, all that stuff, ready to rock and roll. And what this book gives you is an expanded sort of like campaign game. I apologize. I know the book fanatics hate when I do this. We're gonna make this flat. This is gonna happen, so people can read it. It's a beautiful full color book. It runs a grand total of 137, 38 pages. And even includes a lovely silk bookmark, a thing that all dungeon masters and PCs love about role-playing books when they need to find something quickly. So it's gonna basically take what you have if you have a Fallout Wasteland Warfare collection and enhance it by giving you, I guess, more stuff to do that feels like the game when we played it as a video game. And that's, to me, I'm super excited about this book because that is what I want out of, I mean, almost all games at this point in my gaming life. I'm not super interested in military simulations the way that I used to be. I'm a lot more interested in crafting visual narrative experiences, and this is providing that in the Fallout universe, which I'm super excited about. So, what do you get in here? You're gonna get some narrative background. If you're not familiar with the worlds, obviously, we're gonna kind of skip that over. If you're the whole idea of Fallout, it's funny because I love the Fallout universe, and there are a million YouTube videos that you can watch if you want to know more about it. If you're not familiar with the Fallout universe, the basic premise is in 2077, a global nuclear war between, the East and West, basically. So. England, the United States and its allies, although the United States is not exactly the United States that we know, and China and an Eastern bloc of allies basically destroys the world. Everybody dies. And a company called Vault Tech, who'd been working for the United States government, has built a whole bunch of preparation like Fallout shelters for people to go and hide in, and you emerge from one of these shelters, typically in the video games. Or you might be a guy wandering the wastelands like in Fallout New Vegas. But the world is a sort of like glowing irradiated wasteland with enclaves of humanity, different monsters. Things have evolved because of the radiation and also because of a virus the government and Vault-Tec was working on called the FEV, the Forced Evolutionary Virus. That's basically created giant radioactive orcs called supermutants. And the world is very different in that it's got a more retro 1950s vision of the future, ray guns and, big flying Cadillacs and stuff, due to the fact that I believe the MacGuffin is the transistor was never invented. And so while technologically we still advanced, certain aspects didn't advance as quickly as others. And so we have like robotics and like basic thinking computers, a lot of computer technology, nuclear energy, lasers and stuff, but not things like iPads and iPhones. Certain things didn't come as fast, basically. And so that's the world that you live in, basically. You've awoken or you've grown up in this like post-nuclear wasteland, and you're kind of making your way, and it's exciting. So I'm going to jump from there, because that basically covers us, to character creation on page 20, because here is where the game basically jumps off. So this is where the game of like doing this jumps off, and I do like that they start the book with character creation. This was something that the new D&D did as well. I like, and actually Joe did with Rangers of Shadowdeep. I like that you in this book you're doing things in the order, like you're exploring the world a little bit, explaining what the world is, what is an RPG, and then you jump right into let's get you ready to play. So making a character. And here's a Vault Boy, of course. So characters have special. It's funny because when they were first planning on making this game before it even came out, people were asking, what do you want about the game? And I said, I just want it to be based on the special attributes, because that is like a core mechanic of Fallout. Wasteland Warfare is based on special, and if you don't know what special is, it's strength, perception, endurance, charisma, intelligence, agility, and luck. And those are your primary attributes that make you special. There's a lot of cute MacGuffins in the video games and stuff on how people go about creating characters, but they are the core mechanics in this as well. And this will just define that. So those are your characteristics and the anatomy of a card, because it does use all the same cards. And it's funny because it actually uses Aspirant Goddard here. who comes in the Wasteland Warfare starter set, which would actually be a great add-on to this book if you were just getting into Fallout for the first time, because you get a whole host of potential PC and NPC characters. You get like survivors, you get a soul survivor, you get Nora and Dogmeat. You get Aspirant Goddard, who's just a power armor suit, so you can paint it however you want, make a character in power armor. And you get a bunch of super mutants and hounds too, so you get some bad guys on top of that, which is fantastic. So what do you have? You have your unique unit. So this is if you're a character, basically you're an NPC. You can't be taken more than once. Your unit name. So this is Aspirant Goddard, a Brotherhood of Steel character. His faction, Brotherhood of Steel. Move distance, so how far you move. Range by color. Now you do move in special movie sticks. So in role-playing terms, it's not as important when you're playing it as a tabletop version. There are lengths of stick, basically. So his first move is going to be a yellow stick, and then the big move is a a red stick. So it's how far can you move, and then when you dash, how many extra little bits can you go? Sorry, the second one's is charge distance, actually. Yeah, move that one, and then charge that distance to make a charge action. Your special attributes, so he has a strength of 5. Now, if this was actually the full card, there'd be a power armor card that would slide underneath that, and it would actually buff his strength. The cards are neat because they kind of slot together. He's a perception of 3, he's endurance 4, charisma 5, he's very, very likable apparently. Intelligence 4, agility 3, and he has a luck of 1. Special skills, your basic armor stats, your awareness stat, like that's your range and awareness. So blue awareness means you have a blue stick radius for basically picking up on things and seeing stuff. And then your reaction capabilities for your quick actions, basically what you can do with quick actions. And so creating a player character, first things first, you choose a starting archetype card. Now there are new cards for this that are available, I'll link them below. And there's also a character, it's like a roster card almost. You'll see a picture of it in a second that everything sits on top of. You gain any items shown as equipped in the archetype card. You gain expertise skills mentioned in the starting character archetypes for free. You decide on your character's backstory, because you gotta have a backstory. You get 2 gifts, which are positive abilities, and 2 scars. Now, I really like this ability, Gibson Scars, because it instantly gives some kind of like character to your character. And gives them a little bit of like, I don't know, pathos, you know, like there's something interesting about them. They have sort of like a history already in the world, which I find from like a storytelling point of view is great. Because like if someone likes something or dislikes something already in the world, it's easier to kind of like craft their journey going forward. You can spend 5 XP on archetype cards. You must buy at least 1 perk with XP, at least 1 specialty must be bought, and then each expertise skill you bought only once in addition to any free expertise skills on your card that you get from your archetype. You place them on the character mat and fill in the spaces on the health track greater than the character's full health. So you have like blips you can fill in the ones you're not using. If the attributes on which the starting character's health is based is 5 or less, their starting health is increased to 6. If the starting character's health is 6, make it 7. This does not alter the attribute the character's health is based upon. If the archetype unit card has super mutant written below their character profile's name, the character is affected by some extra rules for super mutants, because like radiation heals you. Like if you're a super mutant, you get all kinds of weird stuff in this world because you are the inheritors of the earth, basically. If the archetype unit card shows the robot type, then you get also other special rules, and then you spend 100 caps on equipment. So you get to do like a full character buy here, which is awesome. Existing Fallout characters, if the player wants to use a unit card from Fallout Wasteland Warfare or their character, they can do it at the Overseer's discretion. Oh, that's right. I should have mentioned. The DM is called the Overseer, because of course they are. The Overseer, if you're not familiar with Fallout, was the person in charge of basically running the vault. And they were typically in the first Fallout game the person that gave you all your missions. Your initial mission comes from the Overseer. And then your heroic stats, all player characters are considered heroic, which awards them special icons above the archetype card and the unit card in the character map. So you get to use these, VATs, so blue results of that to generate you a quick action. And then health, this bonus health is not applicable in the RPG variant, so don't worry about that. Crits, a player can gain critical action points to use for critical things. Every weapon has like a critical effect. Heroic character can use luck, which means you flip a luck token to see if you're lucky or not. And then action point use, a player character can spend action points to perform these quick actions, in addition to their usual 2 actions per round. So normally you have your 2 actions per round. As a quick action, you can do these heroic things too. And there it is, there's the cards. You're gonna put your big unit, like your unit type, your archetype card on here, your weapons and improvised weapons. You always count as having an improvised weapon, which has that stat line, and then your weapon card would sit on here, your name. The fact that you have all your heroic stuff's already on the card, and this is available to print. I believe these are gonna be available for sale as well as like a nice like finished version, but these are available right now to download and print, which I think is awesome. And then you write down your Gibson Scars and your perks and specialties on top of that. Down here is all your skills and abilities that you're gonna buy. So things like acrobatics, athletics, behavior, computers, deception, all the things you would have had in the Fallout game. Lockpicking, intimidating, manual dexterity, medicine, piloting things, presence, stealth, talking, tracking people, and then all your know-hows, like creatures, history, local, robots, science, survival, and your repairs and crafting stuff, so like armor, chems, literally all the different skill trees you could possibly want for like making stuff in the Wasteland, which is cool. On top of that, you could be a ghoul. If a character is not a super mutant or a robot, a player can opt for their character to be a ghoul instead of a human. Reviled by some, ghouls are humans deeply affected by radiation. They kind of look like zombies. A ghoul receives the lead belly perk for free, and their radiation armor is set to X, which gives them total immunity because they actually they were made by radiation, so they don't care. This kind of character will meet groups of people who will be hostile to or suspicious of them purely because of the fact that they're a ghoul. So what happens with the ghouls is they can sometimes go feral, and those are like your kind of zombie creatures. They're a very common sort of hostile bad guy in Fallout, and that means that if a character is a smart ghoul, a ghoul that can talk and stuff, they might get mistaken for a feral ghoul, and people might treat them bad. And then all of the archetypes. All right, so this is awesome because you get to pick all the different things you could be starting off. So you could be a bandit. You might be somebody who robs people for food and money. A chem maker. I'm not saying that you'd be, what's his name from Breaking Bad? You'd be, what's that guy's name? The scientist. I can't remember his name now. But yes, I actually couldn't finish Breaking Bad. I'm sorry. It was too rough for me. I just lost interest after like half the first season. A defender, a fixer. So he like just fixes junk. A forager who finds junk. A handyman who keeps like the local settlement running. A heavy, basically typically only available to super mutants, or a hunter available to super mutants. And then infantry, so members of frontline military. A Mr. Handy, you can be a robot. I love that you can be a robot. You can be a pilot. You can be a researcher, a scout, a sniper, a technician, a thug. Someone likes to beat up people, and that's it for your common things you can do. Now you'll see each one gives you special skills. They grant you additional skills, and then your experience points you can spend on skills on top of that. So like, if you're a pilot, you gain the pilot, novice, track, athletics, resilience, and know-how, survival, and repair and craft machinery, because you're able to like drive cars or fly airplanes or whatever it is. Scouts get notice, behavior, and know-how, survival. Snipers get stealth, notice, and abilities. Athletics, sorry. Military gets, the infantry gets notice, resilience, know-how, local, repair and craft weapons, and repair and craft armor. So lots of cool different like classes to start off from there. Now, because this is based in like a loose version of our reality, you might notice there's not any like crazy fantasy classes in here. There's no psionics, there's no like stuff like that. That stuff kind of occasionally appears in Fallout, but usually only as like a super bad character, or someone with like immense power that you don't get to play as. You're just regular humans. You had a job before this, and that's how you're special. Expertise skills, so all things you can do, and then the relative attributes that go with them, and a huge list of all the skills. Gibson Scars. Okay, these are great. So Gibson Scars are traits, behaviors, and abilities that have been gained by a character due to their background upbringing. Some Gibson Scars are defined rules and effects. Players should incorporate these into the character's actions, attitudes, and behaviors. For example, an arrogant character receives a -2 to all social charisma tests, but should also be keen to be the first to charge into a room, or more likely to volunteer to be Deathclaw bait. You have to have 2 of these to start off with. So alert, +2 to perception. Ally, you have a friend in a position of power or influence that can help you in key ways. It has a different level or nature than, ambidextrous, you can perform with either hand different tests with the character. Your character must have an agility of at least 4, and you can avoid penalties for having injured arms and hands, because you switch hands. Average Joe or Jane, your plain appearance makes you blend into crowds and become harder to spot. Adds several bonuses at the overseer's discretion. Big boned, +1 strength. Big brained, +1 intelligence rather. Bold, you gain benefits when spending luck points at the overseer's discretion. Bright-eyed, +1 perception. Charmed life, luck. Competitive, +2 bonus to opposed tests. That's cool. Confident, you receive a +2 bonus to charisma tests as long as your character has a charisma of at least 4. Dead aim, ignore 1 item of cover. Dodge, your character's better getting out of the way. Overseer's discretion. Eidetic memory, your character doesn't forget details. Most easy intelligence tasks are automatically successful, and other intelligence-based tests that are memory-based are easier. Eyes like a rat owl, your character can see better in the dark and suffers no penalty for low light. Famous, you're well known in the world for some specific feat which you should weave into your backstory. This may pay off in favors or prestige. Farsighted, you get the eyes of an eagle. You get a +2 bonus when aiming or interacting with things that awareness, color, range, or greater. So like outside of your awareness, basically, get a bonus of +2. Fast healer, you recover health more quickly. Fleet foot, +1 agility. Gifted gab, +1 charisma. Healthy, +1 health. And then you have things like scars. You can be addicted to something. You can be an amputee. Arrogant, so -2 all your charisma tests. Cursed, -1 luck. Deaf, you can't hear. So you might not be aware of things that are outside your line of sight. Devotion, you're related to someone, a family member, a lover, etc., that frequently gets you into trouble, and you're often pulled into their drama. Diseased, you suffer a one-time permanent -1 to your health. You're a dullard, you're -1 intelligence. Gullible, -2 to penalty to all social tests. Fragile, -1 strength. Hemophiliac, you bleed more easily than normal. Hidden shame is a deep secret that you protect at all costs. Any revelation might ruin you. Hit every branch on the way down, -1 charisma, you're just ugly. Hunted, someone's after you. I know something, you have a terrible secret. Narrow vision, -perception, just cool things like that. So they're basically, I mean, they do have stat bonuses and stuff, so you can buy stats and stuff with them, but they also give you this like neat story about who you are and how you do in the world. And then perks. And perks are typically things that they'll cost different levels of experience to get, but you might gain an action, you might gain bonuses. The perk system in Fallout is fairly vaguely defined. They just give you stuff. And this is reflected in the tabletop one too. So like some of these perks, for instance, if I want to buy charismatic, it can vary, but I'll gain a charisma. If I buy Blitz, one of my melee attacks per activation can be made at orange range. You still use the melee skill, but it's resolved as a shooting attack. Pushback can still occur with no follow-up. If you're engaged with any enemy, you may still use this attack to target at a target with which you're not engaged. So like you like throw something at somebody, right? Like you get like a new skill basically. Brave, in your radius, all the characters may use your Warcry ability to like resist basically people like charging you and being scary. And then bushcraft, you always use the cooked effects for food. So even if like you're eating raw food, your bushcraft means that you use the cooked effect all the time because you like quickly finish it off or whatever, make it ready to eat. Enduring, gain endurance. Fist, this counts as an improvised weapon, but +1 base damage. So like your base improvised weapon becomes better. Ghoulish, radiation damage counts as healing. Many Wasteland inhabitants will treat you differently or negatively because of your strange metabolism. So you can become a ghoul like midway through by buying a perk and stuff, which is awesome. And there's tons of perks, like a huge list of perks. And then specialist characters, things like leaders, and then of course if you're a robot, a creature, a dog handler. The factions, things like super mutants, and things like the Vault Dwellers and the Brotherhood of Steel can be factions as well, using luck points. Experience and progression. So after making progress in a scenario or after significant encounters, the Overseer may award you experience. Spend experience points. A player may spend their character's experience points to gain or improve skills, attributes, and abilities. The player can spend them on at any time. The Overseer fees as appropriate, so like when you're resting or when you think it's okay. And then spending them, 1+ to gain an expertise skill. So 1 XP for a non-combat skill, which is the ones that are on your sheet. If the character already possesses the skill, the cost is an extra 2 XP per effect dice. Specialty skills, or for 2 to 4 you can buy a perk. Some perks can be bought multiple times. Perks which improve attributes cost XP equal to the new attribute value. So like if you are already perception 4, it's gonna cost you 4. And then, what is it? The cost equal to the new value -4, sorry, that's what it is. So if you're already at 4, it costs you, so if you're already 4, you'd buy 5 for 1. If you were going to 6, it would cost you 2, 3, and up to 8 basically. Costs are shown in the perks table. Gaining expertise skills, gaining specialties, so you can buy those things as well. And here's all your archetype cards, which is handy. So like these are available for download as well. So if you don't want to, and I think they'll be available for purchase too, if you don't want to just print them off and use them. But this means that all that starting stuff that you do when you buy your class, you can just put right on your character sheet and be ready to rock and roll. In fact, if you're crafty, you could literally just like Photoshop or chop this image, stick it on the character sheet, and make a character sheet for every archetype, and you'd be ready to go basically out of the gates. And what's nice is if you look at here, there's a 3D render for an appropriate model for every single one of these things. So like, there's a bandit model, there's a chem maker model, there's a defender model. Like if you just wanted to have a model, there's like, I have all like the handyman's actually, one of the Fallout 4 characters. But like, there's literally a miniature in here for pretty much everybody. Yeah, you could be a Mr. Handy type 1. I want to be a Mr. Handy. And then there's your character sheet right there too. So you can also photocopy these out of the book if you don't want to download them, but if you don't want to wreck your book like I'm doing, flattening everything all the time, you can just go and grab it and print it off and it's ready to rock and roll. And then the rules for playing, skill tests. So making a skill test. To make a skill test, the player rolls the skill dice, a 20-sided die with effects and icons, and usually one or more effect dice, 12-sided dice with a variety of colors. For a skill test to succeed, the result must be equal or lower than the relevant skill value. So like if you're using a perception-based attack or something, you're trying to roll that d20 and get equal to or less. Now, it's not a d20 because the stats usually, the results are usually between 1 and 10, with also like a critical and a fumble and stuff on there too. And the critical is you gain a quick action. The fumble is you're going to also, it's going to be bad. You automatically miss. And certain things can have fumble actions where they blow up in your hand or whatever. After all modifiers, most and penalties are totaled before being applied. And then if an X is rolled in the skill dice, skill test is always a failure and can't be adjusted by numerical bonuses. To make it a success, the chance of success for each skill value are, so like a 1 is 25, a 2 stat is 30, a 3 stat is 35, a 4 stat is a 40%. And when you're 10 plus, you have like an 85% chance of like succeeding. So the higher your level your stats, obviously the better you are at doing things, shooting, fighting, whatever. And then the skill dice is a white 20-sided dice with number of faced values showing from 2 to 10, and other faces which bear icons shown on the table. So the numbered face is just you get the number on your roll. On this one, this is the kind of the second most, is the action point one. This result counts as a 1. It also counts as 1 action point. Some characters can use APs to carry out quick actions, extra minor activities, in addition to their main actions. And then because they're all heroic, typically they can use them. And then critical point allows them all to use powerful critical weapon effects. The result counts as a 1. It also counts as a critical point. Some characters can use critical effects on weapons. And then a fail with a quick action. So the X icon means that you failed. X is not a number, so numerical cool bonuses can't apply. When X is an action point icon, it's an automatic fail, but it does give you an action point. So like you fail, but you get like a little breather and you can do a quick action still. And then effect dice. So now the effect dice are the only real, I think like they take some time to realize what they are, effect dice. And they have a variety of different symbols on them, but they usually proc special effects on whatever your card is. So like if you have an assault rifle, it might grant you special effects based on what you roll, or a laser rifle might burn people if you roll a special effect die. And it'll always say what you need to roll to do it. So they're rolled alongside the skill die to see if you hit, and then if there's any extra effects when you hit. So the black one does damage usually. It's more likely to have an increased effect, primarily adds 2 damage or impact to it. So it's either going to add damage if you get blasts, it's going to reduce the number that you've rolled. So if there's a minus number, it's a bonus to your skill typically. It's reducing the number on the skill test to see if you've hit or not. It's like I could roll, I might need a 6 to roll. I roll a 8, but I roll a -3 on one of my dice, and that means that the number I rolled on the skill dice is reduced by -3, so I've actually landed a success instead of a failure, because my total now is 5. So extra damage is blasts, reduce armor and resistance is the broken helmets, bonus to skill, so reduces the roll of the skill dice, and then special effects. These 3 special icons trigger the effects of weapons, so it could be it's a Nuka-Cola, a star, or a nuclear explosion, and they all have different effects based on what you're rolling. So you roll those at the same time, resolve your tests, see what happens, apply any damage. And this applies for pretty much all tests too. And then yeah, bonuses and penalties. So like you could have penalties for things like picking a complex lock, the lighting's bad, someone's in cover. Complications, they can also decide that a fumble in the skill dice is worse than a simple failure, so things can go terrible. And a lot of this is just openly left at the overseer's discretion. So like some of these bonuses, like if you look at the perks, it will specifically say like at the overseer's discretion, at the overseer's discretion. That's on purpose. This is being left intentionally vague so that the overseer can make things the way they want them to be. And then an opposed skill test occurs when the character tries to achieve something that's directly opposed. So to perform an opposed skill test, all parties make the same skill test against whatever their skill value is that's appropriate. The successful result with the most impact wins. Impact is the quality of the result, and it will be explained in expertise. A roll cannot win if it is not a success, even if the other parties involved do not have the requisite skill and fail all their rolls. So in the case of a tie, the tied character with the highest roll wins. In the case of the character's dice roll includes effect dice results, which are just the results shown in the skill dice. The character can use the lowest of either their skill dice value or the result shown in the skill dice. So basically reducing the roll doesn't reduce your overall ability. That clause there means that like if I'm -3 to the roll and that makes my roll lower than yours, I can count my stat as being the roll instead, so that it doesn't mess me up, basically, that I got a good result in the dice. Inevitable success. If a skill test would eventually be a success given enough time, and there's no downside to failure, the player can declare this is automatic as long as enough time's passed. So like picking a lock, if eventually you were going to get that lock pick, like the results are 50-50 or whatever, and you've got hours to do it, the overseer can just say, yeah, you just pick the lock. You don't have to roll dice. Crushing the difficulty, crits during expertise skill tests, so things that can add to your stuff. And your stuff's unskilled if you can't do something. You have an unskilled penalty of -4 to your skill value. So if you're trying to do a skill you don't have. Hey, Ironclad, you want to help me hack that thing? That's the Armored Nora. Assisting specialties, impossible tests, that you can't do things, automatically count as a fumble. Special effects, that can happen. Okay, so they do put the range rulers in here. So this is an example of the range rulers you'd move on the tabletop if you're using miniatures for stuff, and you're not just role-playing. And those are all the distances you'd use. And they are actually in inches, so it's actually 2 inches, 4 inches, 6 inches, 8 inches, 10 inches, 12 inches, I believe, because I believe that's inches. If you use models while role-playing and use a map that's scaled 1 inch to a yard, you can use the colored range rulers from Fallout Wasteland Warfare to quickly calculate and measure distances. Otherwise, you know exactly how far it is, and it also gives you the ranges in feet. So orange is 6 feet, yellow is 12 feet, red is 18 feet, green's 24, 30, 36. And they've color-coded it all. Taking shoot actions, taking charge actions, and these are all very similar to the Fallout Wasteland Warfare variants. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. If you watch those videos, you can go to the Let's Play and check it out. Using expertises, quick actions, how armor works. This is almost identical to the Fallout Wasteland Warfare stuff. I'm sure there's some differences, but I haven't spotted them yet. It all looks pretty similar. Which means if you pick up that game already, you're probably pretty much ready to play this game. Diminishing effects, healing items, addiction, cooking food. The Overseer. All right, so here's your DM section that we're getting into now. The role of the Overseer and how you should do things. A nice overview of what it is to be a DM. How to apply difficulties. So things like dice mod examples. So like if things are bad or things are good. What you could apply to different dice rolls for like different skills, like what you could apply to lock picking, if you're using special tools, if you're using oil, if the surroundings are calm and quiet. And this is basically like almost like the D&D equivalent of like what is advantage and disadvantage. So like it's because skill tests are fairly specialized in this. It's not just always a D20. You can't just give them one and have them pick the highest. I'm kind of surprised they didn't do that. Have you roll additional skill dice and pick a better result? But I guess you're adding mod dice instead. Extra impacts, describing the outcome of skill test. Advantage, here we go. Do you get advantage? They actually have an advantage thing. Usually the Overseer decides on advantage if one side is a surprise over the other. If one or more characters have been surprised or caught off guard, they are used for the current first round and will not act. If partially caught off guard, they're penalty -2. It just means you can't act. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, no additional dice or anything like that. Disease and sickness, luck points, NPCs, stealthing into stuff, chase scenes, that's awesome, scavenging. So you get scavenge tables, so all the things you could potentially find. Now what's cool is and this is actually cap values for everything, so if you wanted to buy them, so like when you're finding caps and stuff. All of these items typically have cards in Fallout Wasteland Warfare, and what's great is in the campaign rules for Fallout Wasteland Warfare, you would typically just shuffle those decks up and be ready to like find things. So if you're the Overseer, you can make like pre-made decks for like an encounter and then shuffle them up and see what people find. If you want to just randomize loot, which I think is great. So like you don't have to write down everything that's in a box, and there could be some random elements on top of that too, just by using the cards that are available. And I won't be surprised if they make those cards available in an RPG format too. There might be special cards, because like I would love to see a deck of cards that have everything from like a 10mm pistol and caps and stuff to Wonder Glue, because Wonder Glue actually is worth money, and caps and things, to nothing, to have like nothing cards too, where you shuffle it and you randomly find stuff. I like that procedurally generated stuff, and it makes, honestly, it's like a player's aid. It makes the DM's life easier too, because they don't have to plan every drawer of an encounter. They get a little surprised too at what gets found. They just kind of roll with it. Traders and supply routes, living in the world, and then playing in conjunction with Fallout Wasteland Warfare, so some stuff to ease the playing between that stuff. And also it's going to talk about the cards and the counters and things too. And how handy they are. Parzival and the Wasteland Knights, an introductory campaign. I'm not going to spoil this, but we have a full campaign of stuff to play through here, and I'm probably going to be playing through this in the near future, playing some of these missions. And they all are like tabletop missions too, so I get to actually record them, which is going to be awesome, because they have like, hey, here's the thing you can play on. Here's the story you're going to go through. Here's the baddies and stuff. So I'm not going to ruin it too much. I don't want to show you guys too much what's in here because we're going to do it in the future. But it is a nice, meaty little introductory campaign with all these characters that you possibly have. And yeah, and we'll make some characters up and go through and do it. So yeah, and this is the miniatures that are available right now, like the Survivors, the Minutemen Posse, the Wonderful Brotherhood of Steel Minis, Raiders. I'm so stoked to paint these. I'm painting these right now, actually. I just got them all assembled and cleaned up and stuff. And then Super Mutants, all the companions and stuff, your Soul Survivors, the Raiders Super Packs. You get Akak, Sinjin, and Avery. And then you get Paladin Dance, and this is all based on Fallout 4, obviously. Some exploding Super Mutants, the Suiciders. And then more Raiders, Scavengers, and Psychos. Really cool Raider set. It's got a very like Mad Max theme to it. And then they got XO1 Power Armor, my favorite Power Armor. And then Hammer and his dog, who I think is actually the same dog from the set. So while people might already have, yeah, it's that dog right there. People would already have that dog, but you do get a cool Hammer model. And a wonderful index of icons, because there are a lot of icons in this game. There's a lot of infographic stuff. And an index, and there you go. Now what's awesome too, and I probably shouldn't show you that. That's my download code for a digital copy of Fallout Wasteland Warfare, which I should have not shown you, and I will clip out when this is all said and done. But the book is super like condensed. It's ready to play out of the box. It's all going to combine with my Fallout Wasteland Warfare collection and give me a great way to play some narrative encounters and games. I love that it comes with an introductory campaign. I love that I get to pick archetypes and build characters from scratch. So I'm not using like pre-built NPCs and stuff, or just like a sole survivor. I can have like a person that's grown up in the wastelands and stuff too. And I'm super jazzed about it. It's going to give me a ton of life out of my Fallout miniatures, and I'm stoked to like play some campaigns and maybe even write some campaigns and stuff as well. So I hope you enjoyed this review of Fallout Wasteland Warfare, the tabletop role-playing game, which is going to add a ton of like RPG experience, some real like Fallout-y feeling stuff from Modiphius to the Fallout Wasteland Warfare stuff that I already have. So until next time, I'm Ash. Have a good day. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to support the channel, of course, like and subscribe and hit the little bell below to get notifications when I post future content. I do post stuff 7 days a week. If you want to support the channel further, you can, of course, buy a t-shirt through Spreadshirt, buy a measuring gauge or objective markers from Death Ray Designs, or, of course, most importantly, there is Patreon. Patreon is what makes all this possible, keeps the lights on, pays for the studio costs, pays for the equipment, model costs, and everything else, and most importantly, puts food in my kids' bellies and a roof over their heads. Big thanks to everyone, past, future, who supported me. I do this stuff because of you guys, and of course, I will continue doing it as long as I can.